Today, we discuss the huge business of marketing, cross-selling, upselling, and reselling. Robert Brown is back on the show, and we discuss it starting right now.
This is Debt Free in 30. Here's your host, Doug Hoyes.
Robert Brown is back on the show, author of Wealthing Like Rabbits. He was on show number 14 back in December of 2014. That was 5 years ago. I believe that we recorded that in my Mississauga office.
That's correct.
If I'm not mistaken. Episode 77 in February 2016, he was here. And then, of course, we had the very famous episode number 140, May of 2017. That was recorded right here in Toronto at Yonge and King at our offices. That was the first Butter Tarts edition. I'm sure you remember that, where you and I both predicted that we were at the peak of the housing bubble.
And I think we were right.
I think we were bang on right because we recorded that show on May 1st, 2017, and I think we actually hit the absolute peak. Now, some will argue that, well, okay, but condos here in Toronto have been going up ever since then. You guys weren't even close to right. But the way we tell the story, we nailed it perfectly.
I think you may want to mention that on your prediction episode coming up around Christmas.
Absolutely. I think we will. Well, and we'll see how we did on our predictions this year as well. You were on for a fourth time, episode number 184, which aired March the 10th of 2018. That was the second Butter Tarts edition. And we had a panel discussion with Gail Vaz-Oxlade and Carrie K. Taylor. And we talked about debt and no one was listening. And the reason that we had two Butter Tarts editions is, of course, as everyone who follows you on Twitter knows, you decided to become a Butter Tart cooking expert.
Master.
And you have now mastered it, and I assume we've moved on to other areas in your life. So that's very, very impressive. And then, of course, episode 2011, a year ago, September 2018, Are You Having a Personal Financial Crisis? So this is your sixth appearance. Thank you very much for coming back. Tell us, what are you up to right now, with respect to what you're doing with the book and what's happening?
Well, first of all, Doug, thank you for having me back. I was surprised to find out it was my sixth time. And I was also surprised to find out that my first appearance was number 14. I thought you'd been doing it for years when we did it.
You were one of the guinea pigs.
This podcast is about as old as my book. The book has been out for just over 5 years now. And we have an audiobook coming out in the spring of 2020. I'm one of those guys that waits 5 years before they release the audiobook. And a sequel to Wealthing Like Rabbits is expected in the fall of 2021. Ooh. So not finished yet, but I've got some ideas. And
now, have either of those things been announced publicly before?
First time.
Ooh, first time.
Exclusive. Breaking news.
Exclusive. So I'm going to have to increase the subscription fee for this podcast for this breaking news that we're getting. So Wealthing Like Rabbits, an original introduction to personal finance by Robert R. Brown. Available in bookstores everywhere. You and I go into bookstores, and if our books are at the back of the shelves, we always move them to the front. So if you're wondering, if you go into a bookstore, why Wealthing Like Rabbits and Straight Talk on Your Money are on the bestseller front cap, then it's probably because one of our followers moved them.
Yeah, decided to take over the marketing department at Chapters Indigo.
And so they should. So, okay, what I wanted to talk to you about today is marketing.
Okay.
And you spend a lot of time, going into colleges, universities,
sure,
speaking to students. You're on, book tours all the time. You've been in many different provinces in the last few weeks, I suspect. I am of the view, and of course, this is what I talked about a lot in my book, that a lot of the time we are being sold to, and we don't even realize it.
Sure.
And the classic example I use all the time is, well, you go to the bank and, because I want to get some U.S. money because I'm going to Florida for the winter.
And by the time you leave, you've got a new credit card and a home equity line of credit?
Exactly.
Sure.
And I don't think I've been sold to because, well, it's Mary at the bank who I've been going to for years, and she's obviously just helping me out. Me not realizing that, wait a minute, she's got a quota to meet every month. There's some targets. She's got to, sell a certain number of lines of credit and credit cards and so on and so forth. So how many other times are we being marketed to that we don't realize it? A lot, I'm guessing.
All the time. It's pretty hard to get through a day without being sold to or marketed to for something, especially if you have an online presence at all.
Yeah, so it's always something. So forewarned is forearmed. I wrote that down on my cue card here. I don't know what it means, but I think it's applicable in this case, right? So what I want to do is throw out a bunch of marketing strategies.
And talk about it.
And we're going to talk about it. Well, you're going to talk about it. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it. So, $50 off your next purchase. Okay? So either I go to the store and they say, here you go, here's a coupon, you come back, you get $50 off your next purchase, or I buy something online, same deal, they give some kind of deal. Now, that sounds good. Someone's giving me I didn't have to pay anything extra for it. I'm getting a deal.
How can that be a bad thing?
How can that be a bad thing?
I want to introduce early in this conversation the idea of critical thinking, the idea of really taking a look at the facts and the data and making sure if a decision you're going to make is right for you based on those facts and not based emotionally. Often when you get those $50 off coupons, when you dig in and read the fine print, it's $50 off if you spend $200 or more. And obviously I'm just pulling that number out of my head. And were you going to go to that store and buy something that costs $200 anyway? Or is the $50 incentive actually encouraging you to spend the $200 that you wouldn't have spent otherwise? And did you necessarily need the thing that you spent the money on? That's the type of critical thinking I'm talking about. And on top of all that, even if you did need that thing that costs $200, did you have an opportunity to buy that thing elsewhere for a lesser price? Or did you have an opportunity to buy something different or more appropriate that you weren't able to get without the $50 coupon?
Because mathematically, if the store is able to give me a $50 discount, isn't the price marked up by $50? Isn't that kind of how math works? And okay, maybe they are giving me a deal and they're doing it as a loss leader or whatever, but
sure. And,
right.
And maybe the manufacturer of that product is taking the $50 loss to promote their product, but you have to do the math and really critically think about whether or not that decision works for you.
So before you take advantage of it, well, go and look at the same product somewhere else, see if the prices are the same. And you're right, ask yourself whether or not you need that product. So that kind of comes to the second point, which is coupons. And that, I guess, is really the same kind of thing as a discount, right? It's the same thought process.
Sure. But if you have a coupon for a grocery store, per se, that can be a good thing if it's a product you buy anyhow. And if you get a legitimate price on it, well then, okay. But how far did you have to drive to take advantage of that coupon? What else did you buy in that store when you were in there using that coupon? And did the stuff you buy in the store still cost less than it would have cost at the store you typically buy it? You could go in and save $2 on a box of, 5 boxes of Kraft Dinner. I have no idea. What does Kraft Dinner cost these days? But if you buy some lettuce and some milk and some cream and all the other things you need your groceries at that store at a higher price, you haven't saved anything. Again, that critical thinking.
Particularly if you had to drive across town to get to the store that has the coupon, and you just blew your budget on that. So, and if Kraft Dinner would like to sponsor this podcast, just give me a call. We'll make some kind of deal. Okay, third thing. Now we're getting into the interesting stuff. The first two, okay, everyone understands that. Upselling. That's number 3. Upselling. So, what is upselling? Can you give me an example of upselling?
Sure. You go to your local restaurant. You go to your local keg, and the keg should shoot you
They should
nice
be sponsoring
dinner
this
for
show
that.
too. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. You know that when you get to the keg that your server is going to try to upsell you a more expensive entree than you probably need. They're going to try to upsell you a nice appetizer. They're going to upsell you a nice bottle of wine or a keg-sized cocktail. And we understand that's the way the restaurant business works. That server is doing his or her job to increase the check average for the restaurant, hopefully enhance your meal as well. And sure, as most people tip on the size of the bill, that server's trying to enhance their gratuity. Is the server an evil person? Of course not. But we understand when we go to a restaurant that people are trying to upsell us. And then it's up to us to make decisions about whether or not that upsell is something we really want, get value for, are we willing to pay for, or something we should just, politely decline.
Now, where I've seen it is online. Because, of course, everybody buys everything online these days. Nobody goes to a store anymore. And everyone who watched Stephanie Hughes on this podcast talking about the retail apocalypse will understand that, retail locations are shrinking.
I just walked through the Eaton Center on the way here, 4 weeks before Christmas, and you could shoot a cannon through it. It's almost empty.
Yeah. But as you get closer and closer and closer, well, maybe a few more people are there, but a lot of those people are there to look at something so they can then go buy it online.
Sure.
So when you go online and you go to that Amazon place and you punch in, I want to buy a copy of, Wealthing Like Rabbits, it will say, oh, here's some other things we can suggest.
Customers who looked at Wealthing Like Rabbits have also looked at Straight Talk on Your Money.
Right. And so, which I'm in favor of that. I think that's an excellent way to do it. But that's upselling, right? They're telling you what other customers have bought. Is that relevant for me?
Sure, absolutely. And we were talking before we sat down to do this about I was on Amazon just a couple of days ago to buy a new microphone for my home studio. And when I was there, I bought the microphone that had been recommended to me, and Amazon popped up with customers who have bought this product have also bought this. And it was a small pop filter designed to take all of the P's and T's out. Now you get a pop filter with the microphone that I bought, but because it was only $20 and it was right there and other people had bought it and I want my audio to be as clear as possible, I clicked and I bought that $20 pop filter that, if I'm honest and really look at it critically, I may not even need.
Yeah, and everybody listening can hear what it sounds like without a pop filter, because I just took mine off, and yeah, sure, it does pop, but the ones that we're using on these microphones are a little piece of foam that cost virtually zero. So I think you can buy a 6-pack for $5 or something like that.
Here's another thing: if you're on an online shopping site, won't mention it by name, and you do need to buy something to go with the something that you just bought, are the recommendations coming up at the bottom of the screen necessarily the best value? Amazon has, hundreds of thousands of products. And when you go online to buy a something and you get the accessory with it, how are they determining what accessory to recommend? Is it based on popularity? Is it necessarily the best value for you? Or is it Amazon sponsored and recommended because there's more margin in that product for them?
I'm pretty sure I know the answer to that
Sure.
question. It's and in fact, this happens all the time. You're looking for something, and so you punch in, ABC, and they're showing you a whole bunch of stuff, and you got to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll until you actually get to the particular brand name or whatever you're looking for.
The quality and the value that you like.
Why didn't that pop up first? Well, because
Exactly.
they make more money on the other. So again, that's where the whole critical thinking comes in. You should not just assume that the big computer in the sky is a benevolent entity that is serving you exactly what you need. There's probably a profit motive in there.
Yeah,
Now,
you don't want to be jaded, but you always have to ask yourself, when somebody's trying to sell you something, are they doing it for you or are they doing it for themselves? And in a perfect world, it's a little bit of each. I think we all know that people sell things. I sell books. I sell myself on speaking engagements, try to offer value that's good for people. But I know that the people on the other end of the phone or on the other end of my email see me as a salesperson. That's the first response.
Yeah.
And they're right.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that, so long as it's we're both equal in this thing, and you can make your pitch and I can think. So since we're picking on Amazon here, who does not sponsor this show, actually nobody sponsors this show, but number 4 on my list is try it for free. So this is another marketing strategy. And so I believe Amazon Prime is a thing where you can get free shipping and you get movies and stuff like that.
Yep.
And not at all uncommon for them to be running a deal where, hey, you can try it for free, free for 30 days, see what you think of it. So how can that possibly go wrong? That sounds pretty good.
Well, there's all kinds of those subscription services out there. And often the way it's set up is you get Amazon Prime for free for 2 months. And I have no idea whether it's 2 months. Another one is LinkedIn Premium. You can get LinkedIn Premium where you can get more access to more information about people for a cost of $60 a month. And I think that when you first sign up for LinkedIn Premium, you get the first 2 months free. But you have to give them your credit card number. And every time someone online asks for your credit card number, a bell should go off in your head. And you will get your 2 months for free. But if you don't go online and cancel the subscription, it will automatically start taking whatever monthly fee they charge out of your credit card. And they will do that for as long as that credit card exists.
Forever. So the practical advice there is, remember to cancel it.
Yeah.
I was actually on PayPal yesterday for whatever reason. Actually, it was to cancel a subscription.
How about that?
It's exactly what it was for. And I won't say what it was because it's moot. But I'm looking, and I went to the actual service provider to cancel it there, and I couldn't figure out how to do it there. but I knew it was coming out from PayPal. So I went to PayPal, and on PayPal, there's a whole list of all the different pre-authorized recurring payments you've got. And there was a whole bunch of them. And some of them were all, business related services we use with the business and so on. But a couple of them were like, I don't even know what that is. Why am I paying for that? Now, fortunately, because everything was in PayPal, I could just hit the cancel. But it's not a bad idea to take a look at your PayPal, but also take a look at your bank account and your credit card to see what's coming out on a regular basis. And do I still need that service? Because if I don't, well, cancel it.
Sure. One of the notes I made in preparation for this podcast is almost a forensic monitoring of your credit card statement and your bank statement and your PayPal statement. First of all, to check to make sure that all the charges on there were legitimate charges. But a lot of people are surprised by how many things they subscribe to, forgot about, and don't use anymore. And I'm pretty meticulous about this sort of thing, and I've caught myself a couple times too. I mentioned LinkedIn because I signed up for the premium service a while back because it gave me a lot more access for information when I was looking for people, and I forgot about it and didn't use it at all over the summertime, and it was costing me $60 a month over the summertime, and I didn't use it at all.
Well, and even a service like, Netflix or Disney or one of these 57 other online streaming services, do you need 57 of them? I guess would be the first question. And the second question would be, do I watch them equally throughout the year?
Right.
In Canada, we tend to watch more TV in the winter because it's cold and I don't want to go outside. But in the summer, I'm outside all the time. I'm working in the garden. I'm going for a bike ride, whatever. Why not cancel it when the summer starts and start it up in the fall? But once it's on auto, it just keeps on going.
And do you watch enough television to justify them all?
I do not.
I signed up for Crave a while back because it gave me access to HBO when Game of Thrones was on, but I've canceled it recently because I never use it.
Yeah, and Game of Thrones is not on anymore. So item number 5 on my list then, signing up for services. And we've already talked about, you sign up and it just keeps going on forever until it, you cancel it. But the other problem with signing up for something is you are now a lead.
Yes.
You've now put your name and email address in that person's computer.
I mentioned earlier that every time somebody asks you for your credit card number, a bell should go off. A smaller bell should go off every time someone asks you for your email address, and everyone does. All that means is you are going to get a bunch of crap coming into your email feed all the time.
Yeah, and in order for it to be legit, you have to ask for it, which you did, but there also has to be an unsubscribe button at the bottom of the email. And I've actually been doing what you call forensic monitoring over the last week or two on my email, because my email box keeps getting full, and it's like, oh man, I got way too much stuff in there, and do I need that email from 1942 and all that kind of stuff?
But let me ask you this, Doug. Are all the emails you're getting companies that you signed up to?
No. There's no way they possibly could be.
So what they're doing is they're selling your contact information to other companies who are now trying to market to you. I subscribe to a magazine, a cottage magazine, which is fine. I like to read it. But as a result of that online subscription, I'm constantly getting marketing from boat companies and outboard motor companies and fishing expedition companies, things that have no real interest to me. But because I have an interest in cottage life, they have an interest in selling me all things that they feel are cottage related.
Yeah.
And it takes time to cut back and unsubscribe for all these things. Often what people are doing is they're just not reading it and they're passing it and it builds up, and then they'll set aside a couple hours in a week and take the time to unsubscribe from all the crap they don't want.
Yeah, and even unsubscribing sometimes backfires because you've now confirmed that you're a real person and they're going to spam even more.
Yeah.
So you can't guarantee that. One of the other things I do is I set up a rule in my email box that says anything from this person or from this title or this company or whatever, put it over here in the junk folder. And then it's really easy once every week or two to just do a quick scan through the 9,000 items in the junk folder and just delete them all.
Sure.
At least I'm not looking at them every single time that they come in.
But it's hard to avoid. You check into a hotel, they ask for your email address, you're going to be getting marketing from that hotel.
You go to any store.
Book a flight.
Yep.
Anything.
Yep. Yeah. Well, you go to the store. Well, would you like us to send you your receipt by email? That way we're not killing a tree. Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, sure. Here's my email. So, of course, I think most people are smart enough to have a burner email, send it all there. I'll never look at it, but at least that gives me a way to do it. So, Okay, so signing up for services, I guess related to that would be subscriptions, which we've kind of touched on. And, if you can pay every month, or there's a discount if you just set it up to auto renew.
Yeah.
So
or you sign up for the whole year, you get a discount on the yearly subscription.
You pay for 10 months, you get 12.
And it will auto subscribe at the end of the year. And there's no guarantee that price won't go up. And
So-
no one, well, they'll tell you, they'll send you an email.
Yeah, but how do you remember? So let's say you sign up for the, to watch baseball games on your iPad. And of course, that's an annual thing. At the end of the season, well, it will renew at the start of next season. Are you disciplined enough to put a note in your calendar to say go in and cancel it?
Well, you need to be. You need to be.
And so is that the takeaway point then, that whatever you sign up for, kind of have a master list somewhere? Well, here's my spreadsheet with all the things I signed up for, and here's when the renewal date is, and put a note in my calendar?
Put a note in your calendar, put a note in your phone, and always be checking your credit card statements and your bank statements to make sure that there's nothing that you've subscribed to that you're no longer using.
So you hit on the word, credit and credit statements and everything. So let's talk about that, because that's a big issue that I see, and that is these credit score companies, where you can get your credit score for free. Okay, well, what could possibly be the downside for that? And there's a number of them out there. I'm not going to mention them because they're definitely not going to be sponsoring this show. But you sign up, and now you've got access to your credit score whenever you want it, and it's free. Now you yourself can go to TransUnion or Equifax and pay to get your credit score.
Sure.
And you can pay, $20 a month. They'll let you check it as often as you want on, monitoring and everything. And yet these other companies can get it for you for free. So how is it possible that it cost you $20, but these other companies get it for free? Well, one of the answers is they're buying them in bulk. They go to Equifax or TransUnion and say, hey, sell us 100,000 a month. And they say, okay, fine, we'll charge you $2 instead of 20 or something. I don't know what the deal is, but there's some kind of deal. But how can it possibly make business sense, even if they're only paying $1 for your credit score, to give it to you for free?
I have some experience with this because I actually made the mistake and did it. I was at a personal finance conference a number of years ago and saw a presentation from one of these companies when they were new. And it was a very polished presentation. And we could get our credit scores for free. I hadn't got my own credit score forever. I never really had a reason to, didn't need to. So I took the information and was bored one day. So went online to their site and went through the whatever process it was, gave them my email address, but not my credit card, and got my credit score. And, that was cool. It worked. I did get my credit score. And then about 3 weeks later and 4 weeks later, I started getting marketing from them saying, hey, Rob, your credit score is this. We have a new product where we can loan you money up to this number of dollars at this rate. So what they're doing is they're qualifying their own customers to lend them money online.
And it's brilliant because they now know everything about you.
Right.
So if I'm an advertiser and I put an ad on the hockey game, everybody who watches the hockey game sees it. So I'm advertising for mortgages, but most of the people watching it don't need a mortgage.
It's very targeted.
Yeah, this is hyper targeted because they know everything about you, what your income is, what your other debts are, so they can run an algorithm to see, well, you wouldn't qualify for a mortgage anyways. We're not going to send you that offer. You need a payday loan. Here you go. Here's the payday loan offer.
But what they will send you is, in order to improve your credit score, you could borrow this and pay it back then. So again, very targeted for the customer with an appealing, you can improve your credit score. And if you're going to be borrowing money anyhow, maybe this is the way to do it.
And so my advice is, if it's free, that means you're not the customer, you're the product being sold.
That's right.
And it's the old thing when you're at a poker game and you can't tell who the stooge is, who the mark is, it's you.
That's right.
And Facebook is free. Yeah, I know, because you're the product that Facebook is selling to the advertisers. That's why it's free.
That's right.
Doesn't mean it's wrong, doesn't mean you shouldn't use it. It just means you're the product. And it's the same with these free credit score services.
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg's doing okay for a guy who offers a free product, isn't he?
It's fantastic. How is that even possible? So, and that gets back to your whole point about critical thinking.
Exactly.
So, final point I want to touch on here And that relates to, I mean, kind of what you're talking about, and that's security.
Sure.
So this is a big problem when I'm giving out my email address, all my banking information, which is what my credit report is.
Yeah.
I'm letting them access that for free. Any concerns about that?
Well, lots of concerns around that. That's the second reason it's so important to be checking your credit card statements to make sure that all the transactions on it are yours. It seems like every couple of months we're hearing about a new company, some of them reputable, getting hacked and their information being lost. And that could be banking information, credit card information, and those people can do an awful lot of damage to you with that information. So you need to be hyper aware that that information can be being sold to other people, but beyond that could be being stolen by other people.
Yeah, the more doors that are open in your house, the more ways people can get in.
And I don't think that all online merchants are dishonest, but every time you give your credit card information out online, you've marginally increased that potential for some sort of fraudulent activity.
Yeah, I mean, there are employees who work at these companies. There are outside service agencies and all the rest of it. So, yeah, and it's not just your credit card number that we're worried about you losing, but it's identifying information too.
Yes.
Because if I know your name, your birth date, your address, a lot of which I can probably figure out from Facebook or with my LinkedIn Premium subscription, then it's that much easier for me to then be applying for credit under your name. Now, it's not quite as simple as that, and there are checks and balances. But yes, the more doors that are open in your house, the more people can get in. Credit cards, email addresses, email lists. So takeaways then. We've already said, unsubscribe. That's kind of an obvious one, right?
Yep. And check your credit card statement religiously, check your banking statements religiously, and really get into a habit of applying what you and I called critical thinking when you're making decisions about getting free stuff. And I should mention that doesn't always mean it's a bad thing to get free stuff. Sometimes it does make sense for people, but you can't just automatically assume it does.
Yeah, a coupon can be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how you use it. Fire is a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how you use it. A fireplace on a winter night is great, and it gets out of control and burns your shed down, then it's not so good. So these are tools. You got to know how to use them and be aware of what the ramifications are.
And recognizing that the organization that's giving you the free stuff or the coupon is doing it for a reason, because you're a customer or a potential customer. And again, that's not always a bad thing, but you need to be in control of that customer transactional.
It's pretty much that simple. So excellent. Well, I think those are good thoughts. That's a lot of practical advice, and that's a good way to close it. So how can people track you down?
People can find me on Twitter on @WealthingRabbit. If anybody would like to contact me by email, it's rob@wealthinglikeRabbits.com.
So all that stuff we said about not giving out your email, it's fine on a podcast. That's totally fine. You can just give it out. It's not an issue at all. Robert Brown, Wealthing Like Rabbits, thanks for making appearance number 6 on the show.
Always a pleasure.
We'll have you back either in 2020 for episode number 7, or we'll have you when you're, starting your butter tart business again.
I wanted to apologize for not bringing any butter tarts today. I kind of let you down.
Well, I mean, you
dropped the ball.
Let's face it, we're health nuts, right?
Yeah,
as people can see watching, we're clearly spending a lot of time in the weight room. So thanks very much for being here.
Thanks, Doug.
So cross-selling, which is, what companies do all the time. Upselling, hey, everybody else bought it, you should buy it too. Reselling, you get a free service, but then your name gets passed down somewhere else. These are all things to watch for. And how do you protect against it? Well, keeping a close eye on, as Robert said, bank statements, credit card statements, and filtering through your email inbox on a regular basis. Hit that unsubscribe button. That's often the best way to prevent all this stuff. That's our show for today. Thanks for listening. Until next week, I'm Doug Hoyes. That was Debt Free in 30.